Okay, I'll just go ahead and get started. So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Platinum Federal Credit Union's webinar on financial aid for prospective college students. We know that paying for college can feel overwhelming with different financial aid forms, loan options, and more decisions than anyone wants to make alone. Tonight, we're here to make that process a little bit clearer and less stressful. You will hear from Jasman Howell, a student financial management counselor at Georgia State University. Jasman is dedicated to helping students and families navigate the path to higher education with confidence. With 10 years of experience in higher education, he takes pride in making the financial aid process approachable and as stress-free as possible. He specializes in FAFSA guidance, scholarships, and budgeting. Next, you will hear from PFCU's very own Chief Lending Officer, Shaheen Mitha. With over 20 years of experience in lending, Shaheen works closely with our members every day to help them find funding options that actually fit their lives. She's passionate about making sure every member feels supported, no matter where they are in their financial journey. Feel free to drop any questions in the Q&A as we begin, and we'll leave time at the end to answer as many as we can. And with that, we can go ahead and get started. Jasmine, I'll hand it over to you.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. And once again, my name is Jasman Howell. I am a student financial aid management counselor here at Georgia State University. So this evening, I will kind of guide you through the process of obtaining financial aid so it can be a little bit less stressful for those that are trying to register for FAFSA for the very first time. All right, so we're just going to dive on in. So first, to be eligible for financial aid or FAFSA, you must either be a U.S. citizen or an eligible non-citizen with a valid Social Security number. And as listed on the slide, an eligible non-citizen is someone who has a permanent resident card, or in other words, a I-151 or an I-151C, or an arrival and departure record, an I-94 from U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. Also, if you're a refugee or an asylum granted. So it can't be in a pending status, so it must be granted. So kind of keep that in mind as well. All right, and the FAFSA comes out every October 1st of every year. Now, for this upcoming aid year, we're looking at the 26-27 FAFSA, and on that particular FAFSA, you'll be entering in your 2024 tax information, not 2025. The FAFSA also covers 3 semesters. Most colleges have a fall, spring, and summer term. They do kind of overlap, so some students and parents tend to get confused about what term their FAFSA is going to be covered. So just keep in mind the FAFSA begins at the beginning of every school year, which is in August, and it normally ends in July of the following year. Your child will be deemed dependent unless they are 24 years of age, an active duty military or veteran, they're married, have a child, or dependent that depends on them, and they help them with at least 51% of their livelihood. Also, if their parents are deceased, they're an emancipated minor or in foster care, or if there's a other special circumstance. So there may be some students out there that their parents are in their lives, but their parent is unable to provide them with their information. They may be living with a relative, so that student will be deemed as an independent student, but they will have to take a certain process to get their financial aid awarded to them. It's just a little bit longer, but they will still get awarded financial aid. Also, if there's a change in circumstance, that can also determine how much financial aid your child would receive. So like I stated earlier, we're using your 2024 taxes. So let's say you're making $60,000 in 2024, but for some reason your job ended or you got laid off or a loved one has passed on. So now there is a decrease in income. So that will be considered a change of circumstance appeal. And your child will submit documentation to provide to us that there has been a drop in income from the 2024 tax year. So there are some special circumstances that may arrive after a child has submitted their FAFSA. And if those changes are in the current year, then they can submit documentation to explain why there was a decrease in the income. All right. And what kind of financial aid can I receive? So the one that everyone wants to get is the Pell Grant. The Pell Grant is free money from the government, believe it or not, that you do not have to pay back. So everyone is always looking for the Pell Grant. The Pell Grant is based off the parent's income and the household size. So to some, they may not think that they make a lot of money, but if they're the smaller the household, and in financial aid, if the income is, somewhere up in 30 or 40 or 50,000, and let's just say it's a parent and your child, in your eyes, you may not think that's a lot of money, but in FAFSA, they're saying, okay, there's only one person that you have to take care of. So your Pell Grant will probably be a little bit lower than someone who has 4 or 5 individuals and their income is anywhere between like 30 and 50. But once you submit your FAFSA, there's a summary report and they will provide you, letting you know whether or not your child will receive the Pell Grant, and if so, how much. And that's going to be determined by the SAI, Student Asset Index. So once you submit your FAFSA, your child will be presented with an SAI code. That number will allow us to know if they're going to get the Pell Grant, and if so, how much that Pell will be for the entire aid year. Also, we have the Hope Scholarship. That is a state-funded scholarship for students that have graduated from a Georgia high school with a 3.0 or better. Also, there are institutional scholarships. So whatever college your child may be attending, have he or she look into any type of internal scholarships. Georgia State, we do have a lot of internal scholarships as well. So make sure that your child is taking the initiative to kind of reach out to those internal resources at their institution of choice. Also, you may have an external donor through either your job, your church, or any type of external donor that is out there. So we have a lot of students that have scholarships from their summer jobs. They may work at Chick-fil-A, Quick Trip, and of course, Amazon. They do a tuition reimbursement where they will fill out a form, tell their job this is how many credit hours they're working, and then we send them the invoice, and those corporations, they send the money to the institution, and those funds are applied to their account and will go towards their tuition. And of course, we have the federal and private loans. So there are 2 federal loans that FAFSA offers. There is a subsidized and the unsubsidized. The main difference is the subsidized loan does not have interest added until your child graduates from college. On the other hand, the unsubsidized loan has interest started while they are in school. So keep that in mind. The sub does not have interest until they graduate. The unsub has interest while they're in school. And there's also a private loan option. You can speak with your credit union representative about any type of private loan opportunities that they may offer to you. But the FAFSA only offers the 2, unsub and subsidized loan. Self-help aid. If any of you all out there are military veterans, or if your child is in the military or Coast Guard, there are opportunities for their education to be funded by the military. Have your child speak with the military representative on their institution. For the most part, those funds tend to come in the middle of the semester because the military wants to ensure that the child is still enrolled in those classes before they send those funds out. So normally students will either pay out of pocket or use their financial aid. And then once those military benefits come in, those will come back as a reimbursement. Last but not least, federal work study. Your child can go to school and also get a job while they're on campus. Each college has its different process, but for the most part, most students cannot work beyond, I think, 15 to 20 hours. The federal work study programs, those funds do not go towards their tuition. It's a separate paycheck, but they're just going to school and earning a paycheck at the same time. Parents and students tend to think that the work study program helps pay for the tuition, but that is not the case. That's just where the student will obtain their paycheck from, will be from the federal work study program. All right, and up next, all the colleges have this process in place. It's called satisfactory academic progress. And most of you all out there may ask, hey, what is that? So there are two requirements that your child must maintain in order for them to continue to receive financial aid. There is a GPA requirement based off their credit hours. Definitely check with your college institution. Each college has a different breakdown of the GPA score. But for the most part, all colleges have a PACE completion rate of 66%. And what that is, it's your child's attempted hours versus their earned hours. So for an example, if they registered for 12 hours and then halfway through the semester, they withdraw from 2 or 3, their pace has now dropped because they registered for 12, but they're only going to earn either 3 or 6 hours. So if that pace continues to drop over time, your child may end up losing their financial aid. So all colleges pretty much have a SAP program in place to ensure that those students are going to continue to receive financial aid. The GPAs, like I said, those may change depending on if it's a private institution or a public institution. But for the most part, everyone has a SAP institution program in place. Time frame, completion rate, what that is, if your child is attending a 2-year school versus a 4-year, 2-year colleges allow students up to 90 credit hours to receive their degree, where a 4-year school will allow up to 180 hours. If your child gets close to 90 or 180, they may see a max time frame pop up on their account, and that could hinder them from receiving further financial aid. So if that's the case, have your child speak with their financial aid advisor, and they will let them know how to proceed with receiving financial aid. And like I stated earlier, this is a breakdown of most colleges and their GPAs. So anywhere between 0 to 12, your child must maintain a 1.5, 13 to 27, 1.65, 28 to 36, 1.75, 37 to 59, 1.85, and once they have hit 60 hours or more, it's a 2.0. Now that's for the associate and certificate program. But bachelor's, graduate, and law students, you see there's a difference. 2.0 for the bachelor's program, 3.0 for grads, and any of your children that want to be lawyers, they have to maintain a 2.2. But regardless of the GPA, their PACE has to maintain a 66.6% to continue to receive financial aid. All right, and the Pell Grant, that once more, the grant that everybody wants, free money, free money. So as I indicated earlier, as it stated at the top, if your child's SAI scores anywhere between 0 and negative 1,500, they will receive the maximum amount of Pell per semester, which is $36.98. Total is $73.95. The Pell Grant pays out based off the credit hours. So you're going to get, your child will be awarded $36.98 if they fall into that range. If the range is a little bit higher, then the Pell amount goes down. So if your child registers for 12 hours, Pell maxes out at 12 hours. If they register for anything less than 12, that number will go down. They will still receive the Pell Grant. They just won't get the $36.98 or the maximum amount that they are awarded based off of their SAI. So once again, everyone will not receive $36.98 unless their SAI is anywhere between 0 and negative 1,500. And that number will be provided to your child once you all have submitted the FAFSA. The Pell also has a lifetime eligibility of 600%. So Pell can pretty much be stretched out for about 4 years, unless your child is really going full-time, full-time, full-time every single semester. So 100% of Pell is if your child attends 12 credit hours for 2 semesters back-to-back. So if they go full-time, full-time, that's 100%. Another full-time, full-time, that's another 100%. But if they're taking like 6 hours, 9 hours, they take a semester off, you can pretty much stretch that Pell beyond 4 years, depending on how many credit hours that they register for. But once they hit 600%, the Pell will end. All right, Hope Scholarship, as I indicated, is a Georgia state funded scholarship for those students that have graduated from a Georgia State high school. Georgia's the Hope Scholarship, and also there's the Zell. It's not on this slide, I think it's on the next one, but they both will pay towards the tuition but not the mandatory fees. So let's say your child's total balance was like $4,500. The Hope will take care of the tuition portion, but not their mandatory fees. So there will always be a balance left over if they have Hope or if they have Zelle. Hope and Zelle are first reviewed at the Georgia Futures website. So have your child log on to GA Futures if they have been deemed a Hope recipient when they graduated from college. GA Futures is the website. That website will let them know if they're eligible, and if they are eligible, then the college will go ahead and award them. But the first step is to check GA Futures. Hope awards up to 15 credit hours. So their max hours is 15 versus the Pell, which is 12 hours. But they both do the same thing. They both will fluctuate based off the credit hours. So they don't have to take 15 hours. They can take 8 hours, 9, 10. But the Hope and the Pell will do the same thing. They fluctuate based off the credit hours. All right. And as I stated, Hope pays $95 per credit hour at the institution of their choice. And the Zelle pays 100% institution tuition costs, not the mandatory fees. For those students that are receiving Hope and Zelle, we check their GPAs at 3 checkpoints. Once they have completed 30 hours, 60 hours, and 90 hours. If for some reason they lose their Hope after one of those checkpoints, they have to wait until they get to one of those checkpoints to get their Hope back. So if they lose their Hope at 24 hours and they get a 3.0 the following semester, if they're not at 30 hours, they have to wait until they get to 30 hours, 60 hours, or 90. And for the Zelle, it's 3.3. So if they fall below that and they lose it, they have to wait for one of those checkpoints to get reviewed all over again. And for some of those students out there that are not Hope eligible out of high school, they still have 3 opportunities to gain Hope. And that's at the same checkpoints, 30, 60, 90. So if your child did not graduate with a 3.0, guess what? If they're attending a Georgia university and they graduated from a Georgia high school, they have 3 opportunities to get Hope at the 30 hours, 60, and 90. So that's free money on top of the Pell Grant if they had been awarded the Pell. So kind of keep that in mind as well. All right, and this is a screenshot of what the Georgia Futures portal will look like once your child logs into that portal. And this is to check their eligibility to receive Hope. Their high school should have sent their final transcript to Georgia Futures. They can't come in there and bring it to us. Their high school has to internally submit their final transcript to Georgia Futures website for them to review them to see if they're eligible to receive Hope or Zelle. But that's the website, gafutures.org. So have your child log in, make sure that their transcript has been updated, and they have their college institution of choice listed on Georgia Futures. All right, student loans. So this is kind of like a more information about the breakdown of the loans and the interest rates. So as you see listed, the sub interest rate is 6.52, and it's the same for the unsub. So the sub does not have interest kick in until they graduate. The unsub interest kicks in while they are attending college. Then we have the Parent Plus loan. So many of parents out there, they don't want their child to go into debt, or they don't want them to use the loans at all. So you as a parent, you can apply for what is called a Parent Plus loan on the studentaid.gov website. It's a credit-based loan. You enter in your information, you will get a response within 24 hours. If you are approved, those funds are sent to your child's institution and applied to their account to pay towards their tuition. It is a credit check loan, the same as a private loan. There is also an origination fee of 1.057. And what that is the federal government, they take a processing fee out of all federal loans. So let's say you got approved for $8,500 in a Parent Plus loan. The government is going to take a percentage of that out before it is dispersed to your child's account. Because sometimes students and parents will come in and say that there's a discrepancy of how much they were approved for versus how much was dispersed to their account. And that's because of the origination fee that the government takes out prior to those funds being dispersed to your child's account. And also, along with the loans, there's also a loan limit for the dependent students and independent students. A dependent incoming freshman will receive $5,500 their first year, their second year, $6,500, junior and senior year, $7,500. And you see the breakdown between the sub and the unsub. So the sub is the most beneficial one because that one does not have interest added until they graduate. So really don't touch the unsub unless there is a real financial need to help pay for their college fees and other type of other expenses. Once they become independent, then there's $9,500 as a freshman, $10,500, and $12,500 for junior and seniors. So let's say your child is still in school while they are at the age of 24. Depending on where they are, whether they're a sophomore, junior, or senior, will determine how much loans they will receive as an independent student. Loan limits as a dependent student is $31,000. So if your child is in school and they have maxed out their loans at $31,000, they will not receive any more loans until they turn 24 years of age. So they'll go on to the next bracket of the $57,500. Once you hit that, then all of the loans have ended for your college education. And I always instruct my students that I help to always check their website, studentaid.gov, to make sure that the loans are being used, or if you did not take any loans out, make sure you don't see any loans in his or her name, because there have been some times where someone had their identity stolen and someone went on attended a college and started taking loans out in another student's name. So it's always beneficial to check studentaid.gov. You as a parent, if you took out a Parent Plus loan, most definitely, and also have your child check to make sure that there aren't any loans on there, and if they did take loans out, that they are the correct amounts that they accepted during their college education. All right, and this is just kind of like to make sure that your child is budgeting correctly. Do they need a loan? Do they have a remaining balance once their scholarships and any types of grants have been applied? Are there any other financial needings? Some students may try to get housing or try to buy a car. So if there are any type of external needs outside of college that those loans can help them, then of course have them take those loans out to kind of help them along the way of their college, journey. Can you pay your balance in time before the deadline? There may be a scenario where you're waiting on the hope to come in or a scholarship to hit, and all your child has at that time is the loan. Go ahead and accept the loan. Once those funds come in, they can cancel the loans after they have been dispersed to their account. As long as it's within that semester, they can still cancel those loans and they don't have to pay those loans back. So you can kind of use those loans as a backup plan in the event you're waiting on external funds to come in. All right, and for the next steps, for those that are going to be using the sub or the unsub or both of them, before those loans can be dispersed, the student must complete the loan entrance counseling and the master promissory note. Both of those are on the studentaid.gov website. And what the counseling session is, it explains to the student what a loan is, how you go about repaying the loan, how much interest is accrued, and what are your future plans after you graduate. The master promissory note is pretty much saying that I promise to pay that loan back once I graduate. And it's pretty much, it will probably take about 15 to 20 minutes to complete both requirements, but those must be completed prior to those loans dispersing to your child's balance on their account. All right, and this is the Parent Plus loan, little screenshot of what it kind of looks like on that portal. So you as a parent will log in underneath your username and password on studentaid.gov, not your child's. We have had some students kind of mix it up where it looked like the parent was going to college and the student was the parent. So make sure you log in underneath your own portal. You fill out the application. Make sure it says Parent Plus and not Grad Plus. There's a Grad Plus loan out there, and there's a Parent Plus. So just kind of make sure you're clicking on the correct loan at that time. The interest rate for the Parent Plus loan is a fixed interest rate of 9.07, and the Parent Plus loan has an origination fee of its own, which is a 4.228. So it's a little bit higher. So a little bit more money will be taken out of the Parent Plus loan versus the sub and unsub of your child's federal student loans. The repayment starts 60 days after disbursement. Now, you can also defer payment as long as your child is registered at least as a half-time student, which for the most part is 6 credit hours. So either you can start the payment after 60 days, or you can speak with your lender about having those payments deferred as long as your child is still enrolled in at least half-time at their institution. The applicant can be an adopted, biological, or step parent. And if the credit is not approved, then you can also add an endorser to try to get that credit application approved. All right, budgeting and planning. Make sure your child is being proactive prior to starting college. Make sure they submitted their FAFSA. Make sure you as the parent have uploaded the correct tax year, which is 2024. Make sure everything is budgeting. If they're staying on dorms or they're trying to get their apartment or they're commuting back and forth, just kind of take those things into consideration. You know, gas money. Are they going to be driving back and forth? Are you going to buy them a car? Are they going to be packing their own lunch? Or are they going to get a meal plan? So just kind of be proactive because once college starts, you know, it's a nonstop. It's nonstop. So it just keeps going and going. So you want to be comfortable that your child is comfortable moving ahead in their education. Set financial goals for your child. Make sure they don't overspend, take out too many loans, and not use those loans as a shopping spree opportunity. Believe it or not, some students have done that, and it kind of backfired once they graduated. So make sure that they're setting real goals for themselves, determine their wants versus their needs. Do I want this loan or do I need this loan? So kind of have that conversation with your child, and always borrow responsibly. Once again, my name is Jasman Howell. I am a Georgia State financial aid representative. It's been a pleasure assisting you all with guiding you through this FAFSA financial aid process. If you have any further questions, you can leave the questions in the comments, and I will be sure to kind of get back to you with correspondence or answers to help you guys along the way. My information I gave to your credit union representative. So if you wanted to reach out to me afterwards, feel free. I don't have a problem answering any other types of questions. And thank you once again.
Thank you, Jasmine, for explaining the FAFSA process and the information on federal financial aid and federal student loans. Before I talk about PFCU student loan program, I want to emphasize one very important point. Students should generally take advantage of the subsidized federal student loans first if they qualify. I mean, Jasmine has gone on and on about it, and I would like to reiterate that point. The reason is that with the subsidized federal student loans, the interest does not begin to accrue while the student is in school and during the applicable deferment period. And this can really help reduce the cost of borrowing. As he mentioned, federal subsidized student loans are at a 6.52%. You can get this information from studentaid.gov. And while I was doing my own research, I saw that the origination fee can go as high as 4.28%. But the important point is that the interest does not accrue. So if you are enrolled in a 4-year program, the interest does not accrue for almost 4.5 years if the eligibility requirements are met. Once students have explored and maximized their federal financial aid options available to them, a private student loan may help them cover the remaining educational expenses. At PFCU, we offer student loans which basically cover tuition, room and board, and other eligible education-related expenses. There are a few important differences between private student loans and the subsidized student loans. With the PFCU private student loan, interest begins to accrue when the loan is funded. So if we disburse the funds to your college today, the interest starts today. So that's the primary difference between your federally subsidized loan and a private student loan. That's the reason why we say try to get everything that you can from the direct subsidized loans before you come to PFCU. Now, in order for you to be eligible for the PFCU student loan, you need to be a US citizen, a US green card holder, or have a valid work permit. These loans are deferred while the student is in school, so they are supported by the financial backing of guarantors. And the guarantor could be a student parent or any other qualified individual. We offer up to $50,000 per year, and our year is a calendar year from January to December. I understand that school starts in August and gets over, in probably in May, but we do it in a calendar year. So if you get approved for 50,000 in August, you can qualify for another student loan in January of next year. We have a fixed rate on all our student loans. It's at 5.99. There are no gimmicks. It's not as low as 5.99 where you pull the credit and it's credit based or anything. No, it's a flat fixed rate of 5.99. The payments on the loan begin 6 months after graduation, and the term of the loan, the repayment period, can be as high as 15 years. So this program can be useful option for families who have already explored the federal financial aid and still need additional funds for education purposes. We offer student consolidation loans. So if you've graduated and you have student loans outside, as Jasman presented on the slide, rates can be as high as 8-9%, and other private lenders have even higher rates. So we can do a student consolidation loan for you up to $250,000. Again, the rate is fixed, it's 5.99, and the loan is amortized over 15 years. Now, just to bring some perspective, last year we did a consolidation loan for a student. Actually, the student applied for a car loan. And while we were going over the credit report, we noticed that there were a number of student loans on the credit. So we asked for the rates. So this individual had 152,000 in student loan debt, and the average rate on these loans was 10.125. By consolidating these loans, we were able to save this individual $43,000 in interest, just in interest over the 15-year period. We did another consolidation for a member for a $50,000 loan. The member's rate was 13.5%, and she saved about $9,700 in interest over a 10-year period. Since the loan amount was smaller, she amortized the loan over 10 years, and she saved about $9,700. Now, I understand that, our members, not everybody is a US citizen, not everybody is a green card holder. We offer another student program. We offer $7,500 per year with 2 guarantors where the payment starts immediately. So these loans are not deferred. The rate on this loan is 6.99%. So you are paying you're paying off this loan over a period of 3 years while you're in school, with the help of parents or while you're doing a part-time job in school. The most important takeaway is that student and family should understand the different financing available to them. Complete the FAFSA form, explore all the federal financial aid available to you. Take advantage of subsidized loans. Consider private student loans only after understanding the terms, the costs associated. You have seen that some loans have origination fees as high as 4.28%. PFCU has a loan fee of $20. So these are things that you need to understand when you're taking out the loan. Jasmine reiterated that do a financial plan, do financial analysis of all the options. That's what we encourage you to do. Carefully consider the interest rates. When you at what rate are you borrowing? Is the interest accrued or not accrued? These are things to keep in mind. Um, at PFCU, our goal is to help students and families accessing financing that can help support the education. Um, but at the same time, we want you to understand the responsibility that comes with the borrowing. We've had students who've come to us and we've guided them through different options. We've told them whether, what would be a cheaper option, things that where they could save. And that's what we are here for. With the credit union is for the membership, and we are here to help guide you. If you are getting a better option, we would say this, you need to take this option. Just like when someone comes to me with an auto loan and they say, hey, I'm getting a lower rate at the dealer. We would never advise them to come to the credit union when you're getting a better rate outside. It's the same thing. Um, Encourage you to get the best education, but with the best possible loan if the loan is the option that you need. With that, I'd like to hand it over to Zoya, who will take questions from the audience if there are any questions. Thank you so much for attending.
Sure. So we have a few questions here. One question from a member is, can international students apply for an education loan at Platinum?
So for an international student, if you are working part-time on your campus, you can get a social security number. Once you have the social security number, you can become a member of the credit union. Like I mentioned, the $7,500 loan is what you would be able to apply for with two guarantors, and you would pay the loan while you are studying.
And another question we had is if there are any loans for grad school or med school students.
The loans that we have up to $50,000, those can be used for any purpose. We just did one a few weeks ago where a student was going to law school. So this would be applicable for law school, for grad school as well. 50,000 per year. That's the max that we offer.
Great. We don't have any more questions. If anybody who is in the audience wants to, you're also welcome to like raise your hand and I can let you ask your question directly as well. If anybody has any questions. I think we don't have any other questions from the audience. So we can go ahead and wrap it up if we don't have any other questions. I wanted to thank everyone again for joining us tonight. I wanted to thank Jasmine for being here and talking to our members, of course, about FAFSA and financial aid from the perspective of someone who works within a university. Um, of course, thank you to Shaheen as well for giving us insight about loans here at PFCU. We hope this session gave you a little bit of a clearer picture on how to approach FAFSA and college funding and give you some more confidence heading into the next steps.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Yasmin, for all the information.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Good night.